Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Hello.
Today we're plunging headfirst into a market that, well, it touches almost everyone on the planet. Home remodeling. Now, the numbers we're about to explore, they might just surprise you. We're talking a truly massive and, frankly, incredibly fast-growing global industry.
And we're looking beyond just the raw figures today, aren't we?
Exactly.
Our goal is to really uncover what these trends mean for homes, for investments, and just for how people live across the world. The growth outlined by our source, Cognitive Market Research, it's really something.
It absolutely is. So our mission for you today is clear. We're going to unpack the key insights from that Cognitive Market Research report. We want to show you the current scale of the global home remodeling market and, crucially, its remarkable future projections.
Going for those aha moments.
That's the plan, not just data points. Okay, let's unpack this then.
Let's do it.
We're starting with some truly staggering global figures. Get this.
Yeah.
Back in 2021, the worldwide home remodeling market reached nearly $900 billion.
Wow. Almost $1 trillion, even then.
Right. Almost there already.
Yeah.
And it's only accelerating. Projections show it crossing that $1 trillion mark by 2025.
Which is just around the corner.
Yeah, reaching over $1.07 trillion and then soaring, really, to a massive $1.53 trillion by 2033.
That's huge.
It is. And that's consistent growth. We're talking a compound annual growth rate, or AGR, of about 4.5, maybe 4.6%.
What's fascinating here, I think, is how quickly this market isn't just approaching that $1 trillion mark, but really smashing past it. This signals more than just, a passing trend. It feels like a fundamental, sustained investment in living spaces globally. People are continually pouring resources into making their homes, better, more functional, more like them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, diving a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Let's talk about North America, a serious powerhouse in this sector.
Right.
Its market grew from around $350 billion in 2021, projected to hit almost $570 billion by 2033.
Still very strong growth.
Very strong. And here's where it gets really interesting when you break it down by country. The United States, probably no surprise, is the regional leader. It grew from about $279 billion in 2021
Okay.
to a projected over $447 billion by 2033.
A huge chunk of that North American total.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Following that, you've got Canada. It was around $47 billion in 2021, heading towards $82 billion by 2033.
Also significant.
In Mexico, definitely not to be overlooked, saw its market go from roughly $24 billion in 2021 to over $40 billion projected by 2033.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the implication of such strong, consistent growth in what you might call a mature market like North America is quite significant, isn't it?
Yeah.
What factors do you think are really, keeping that momentum going? Is it things like aging houses, needing upgrades?
That's definitely part of it.
Or maybe that desire for customization, especially now people spend more time at home, or even energy efficiency?
That's a fantastic question. And, well, the report suggests it's really a mix of all those things. You're spot on. An aging housing stock, for sure. Yeah. Homes built decades ago. They need significant updates, right? Plumbing, electrical, even just the look of them to meet modern standards.
Sure, makes sense.
And like you said, people spending more time at home, especially post-pandemic, that desire for personalization, for making the most of the space they have, it's huge. Think home offices, better kitchens, expanding outdoor living areas.
Right, adapting the space to new needs.
Exactly. Now, let's shift our focus a bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk Asia-Pacific.
Okay.
Because this region is truly the fastest growing engine of the whole global market. We're talking rapid expansion from about $246 billion in 2021 to a projected $462 billion by 2033.
Wow, almost doubling.
Almost doubling. And leading that charge, it's China.
Yeah.
Showing incredible growth, nearly doubling from around $76 billion in 2021 to almost $146 billion projected by 2033.
That's just phenomenal growth.
It really is. But other key Asian markets are also showing impressive numbers. Japan, for instance, is set to grow from about $37 billion to over $64 billion. While India, another real standout, is projected to more than double from around $27 billion to nearly $58 billion by 2033.
That's massive growth in India.
It is.
Yeah.
And South Korea also showing strong expansion from about $23.6 billion to over $41.5 billion over that same period.
Right.
And just to round out the picture for 2021 figures, Australia was around $15 billion, Singapore nearly $11 billion, and Taiwan just over $11.5 billion. So all significant contributors.
This really raises an important question, doesn't it? What are the main economic and social drivers behind such, dynamic growth across Asia-Pacific?
Good question.
Is it rapid urbanization creating new housing needs? Or maybe a growing middle class with more disposable income? Or perhaps even, changing cultural attitudes towards homeownership, where the home is seen more as a reflection of status and comfort?
Absolutely, and the report suggests it's really a blend of all of those factors.
Okay.
Rapid urbanization means new homes, new needs for sure. A growing middle class, like you said, has the resources to actually invest in upgrades. Plus, in many Asian cultures, the home is such a central hub, right? So investing in its comfort, its functionality, that's a high priority. We're seeing a big shift towards modern amenities, smart home tech too.
Interesting. So it's both necessity and aspiration driving it.
Precisely. Okay, moving across the globe now. Europe.
Right.
Europe's market recorded about $169 billion in revenue back in 2021. And that's projected to grow to over $270 billion by 2033.
Still substantial growth, even if maybe not as explosive as Asia-Pacific.
Exactly. Stable and substantial. Let's highlight some key European countries. The United Kingdom, for example, is set to grow from around $28 billion in 2021 to over $46 billion by 2033.
Okay.
And Germany, showing really strong growth, projected to jump from about $32 billion in 2021 to over $55 billion by 2033.
Germany's a big one there.
Yeah. France also contributes significantly, growing from roughly $21.6 billion to over $32 billion. And Italy, from nearly $14 billion in 2021 to almost $21 billion by 2033. And just for a quick snapshot of 2021 figures in Europe, Russia was around $13.5 billion, Spain nearly $14 billion, and Sweden about $8.4 billion.
So this consistent, though maybe, like you said, less explosive growth in these established European markets, it really points towards ongoing investment in maintaining and upgrading the existing housing stock, doesn't it?
Seemed like it.
It suggests a focus on maybe quality of life within homes, even in regions where population growth might be slower.
Right.
It's not just about expansion, perhaps, but enhancing the spaces people already live in, often driven by things like energy efficiency rules or just wanting more modern aesthetics in older properties.
That makes a lot of sense, especially with Europe's older building stock in many areas.
Exactly.
Okay, finally, let's look at the emerging markets, starting with South America.
All right.
Generated just over $53 billion in 2021, with projections hitting over $94 billion in 2033. This is led primarily by Brazil, moving from nearly $19 billion to over $32 billion, and Argentina from roughly $9.7 billion to over $18 billion by 2033.
Solid growth there, too.
Definitely. Then the Middle East. That market was about $45.8 billion in 2021, expected to increase significantly to over $80 billion by 2033. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the UAE were the top contributors there back in 2021.
Okay, a lot happening there as well.
Yeah. And Africa's market reached about $34 billion in 2021, forecasted to grow to nearly $60 billion by 2033, with South Africa and Nigeria as the leading countries in that region.
What's fascinating here is that while these markets might be smaller in overall scale compared to, say, North America or Asia, they show incredibly robust growth rates. It really underscores that this home investment trend is a truly global phenomenon. It's extending into developing economies and, well, it highlights a universal drive to enhance living spaces regardless of economic maturity.
That's a great point.
It reflects rising aspiration, I think, and a growing focus on modern living standards everywhere.
So putting it all together, what does this all mean? We've just kind of sailed through some genuinely massive numbers, haven't we?
We have.
From the billions, heading rapidly towards trillions. It's clear this isn't just about building new homes anymore. It's fundamentally about changing the ones we already have.
Exactly. And, it all comes back to the core conclusion from the source material from cognitive market research. They really tie these impressive figures to the real-world trends in how people view and invest in their homes. This comprehensive growth, you see it across all regions, right? It signifies rising global investments in home improvement, in modernization, and importantly, in sustainable renovation, too.
Yeah, that sustainability piece is key.
It really is. It's a testament to the enduring importance of our living spaces, whether it's making them smarter, more energy efficient, or just, more comfortable and personalized. It tells us that home isn't static. It's a constantly evolving concept.
What an incredible journey through these numbers. The global home remodeling market, growing from nearly $900 billion in 2021 to a projected $1.5 trillion by 2033.
Staggering.
It really is. And it seems truly driven by this universal desire, this human desire, for better, more modern, and more sustainable living spaces.
Hmm.
For everyone.
Which does raise an important question, I think, for you listening.
Go on.
Well, considering these overwhelming trends and just the sheer scale of this investment we've been talking about, how might our understanding of home continue to evolve in the next decade? And maybe what surprising new innovations might emerge from this huge, ever-expanding global drive to improve our living spaces? Something to think about.
That's a great thought to end on. Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you send us, the articles, the research, plus our own notes, and really boil them down. We pull out the most important bits, the key insights. The mission, pretty simple. Give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Maybe throw in a few surprising facts. Keep it interesting. Today we're diving into something pretty universal. The global home remodeling market. The stuff we've looked at paints this picture of a sector that's, well, always changing. It's shaped by how we live, new tech, and, yeah, those big economic forces.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating because it's not just, bricks and mortar or economic charts. It's dynamic. It touches pretty much everyone's life somehow, either directly, like your own place, or indirectly shaping the communities around us. It really shows how homes are more than just buildings. They kind of reflect us, how we live.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's unpack this. When you sift through all the data, what are the main things, like the key drivers pushing this industry forward right now? What's making so many of us suddenly think about, renovating, or maybe more realistically, hiring someone to do it?
Well, it really seems to be a mix of powerful factors. First off, globally, disposable income has been steadily climbing. And this isn't just about, luxury renovations. It means more homeowners actually have the cash, the financial room to invest in making their homes better, improving their living standards, maybe a new kitchen, maybe updating a bathroom.
Right, having a bit more freedom to spend.
Exactly. And tied right into that is this huge demand for customized living areas. People aren't just content with a standard house layout anymore. They really want to design spaces that fit their personal tastes, their lifestyle, how they actually use the space.
Yeah.
It's about making it feel truly theirs, a personal sanctuary.
That makes a lot of sense. It's less about just owning the property and more about shaping it into something that feels like you.
Precisely. And then you've got this surge in the number of homeowners, particularly noticeable after the pandemic. Think about the massive shift to work from home and even changing patterns of where people live, maybe moving out of cities. It means our homes suddenly have to be offices, gyms, places for entertainment, all sorts of things. So that pushes up demand for spaces that are, optimized for all that.
So the function of the home itself changed.
Fundamentally. And lastly, there's a big, maybe less obvious driver, the sheer age of housing stock in many places. Think about all the older homes, especially in developed countries, but elsewhere too. They just weren't built for today's energy standards or how we live now, so they need regular remodeling, sometimes pretty significant work, just to keep them safe, efficient, and looking current. It's almost like a constant background hum of demand, driven by necessity.
Yeah, it's interesting how those things, like the work from home shift you mentioned, aren't just fleeting trends. They seem to be really changing our relationship with where we live.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've painted this picture of a huge appetite for remodeling. People want it for personal reasons, or sometimes they just need it because the house is old. But anyone who's tried it knows getting from the dream renovation to the finished product, it's rarely straightforward. What are the big roadblocks, things holding people back or making it difficult for the industry?
Right. That's definitely the other side of the story. High costs are probably the biggest hurdle. We're seeing rising prices for materials. There's an ongoing shortage of skilled labor. And then you have regulatory fees adding up. Put it all together, and big projects can just become too expensive for a lot of homeowners.
Financially out of reach for many.
Yeah. And then there's the broader economic uncertainty. Things like inflation, rising interest rates, wobbles in the housing market. That makes homeowners nervous. Understandably so. They're less likely to commit to a major renovation if they're worried about their finances, so they might delay plans or maybe scale them back.
We've all seen those headlines, right? Lumber prices going crazy, waiting ages for appliances because of shipping. How big an impact have those supply chain issues really had?
Oh, a huge impact. Those shortages of raw materials and the delays in shipping, they've really stretched out project timelines and budgets too, of course. And imagine planning a project and then finding out you have to wait months for, the right windows or specific countertop material. It can bring everything to a halt.
Really frustrating.
Very. And connected to all this is that labor shortage we talked about. Not enough skilled workers in construction, in remodeling trades. That directly leads to delays, it pushes costs up, and sometimes, unfortunately, it can even affect the quality of the work done. It's a whole web of interconnected challenges.
So, yeah, if you've ever started planning a home project and just felt completely overwhelmed by the cost or how complicated it suddenly seems, you're definitely not alone in that. These aren't just like individual bad luck stories. They're actual systemic problems affecting the whole market. But, despite all these bumps in the road, things are still changing, innovation happens. Which brings up a really interesting question. If you look ahead, say 5 or 10 years, what are the big, maybe transformative trends you see shaping our homes? Where are things heading?
Yeah, this is where it gets quite exciting, actually. One trend that's having a massive impact is the focus on dedicated home office spaces. Remote work, or at least hybrid work, seems here to stay for a lot of people. So renovations are increasingly about creating spaces that are like properly soundproofed, have all the tech connections needed, and are ergonomically designed. It's really about making work from home genuinely productive and comfortable.
And it's gone beyond just sticking a desk in a spare room, hasn't it? People seem to be properly investing in these work zones.
Oh, absolutely. It's a real shift in how we think about what a home needs to do. We're also seeing smart home technology just accelerating incredibly fast. Homeowners are putting in everything from voice assistants and smart lights to automated heating and cooling, complex security systems. The goal seems to be creating this, seamless connected environment.
Making things easier, more automated.
Right. And open floor plans are still really popular. That demand remains high. People like designs that create these multifunctional living areas. They feel bigger, more fluid, more adaptable for different family activities or needs.
That makes sense, that desire for flexibility, especially with how much our lives seem to change these days. What else is emerging?
Well, something that's becoming increasingly important, especially as populations age in many parts of the world, is aging in place remodeling. And this isn't just minor stuff. It involves proper structural changes sometimes. Things like adding grab bars in bathrooms, maybe ramps for accessibility, walk-in tubs or showers, widening doorways. It's all focused on making it safe and practical for older homeowners to stay independent in their own homes for longer. It's driven by demographics, really, and it's starting to fundamentally influence how we design and modify houses.
What strikes me about all these trends is how they show our homes really adapting to us, to our lives, our needs, rather than us just fitting into a preset box. They're becoming more responsive, more integrated with how we actually live and work, even how we age. It almost makes you wonder, could homes one day, anticipate what we need? So just to quickly wrap up this deep dive then, the global home remodeling market. It's clearly in constant motion, undergoing this dynamic transformation. It's driven by this complex mix of economic factors, cool new technologies, and these really significant shifts in demographics. All of it is changing how we think about our homes, how we invest in them, and ultimately, how we live in them.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? How our personal spaces, our homes, aren't just static buildings. They're more like fluid reflections of these huge global changes in how we work, the tech we use, the aging of our populations. It leaves you with a pretty big question. What will your home need to adapt to next?
That's a powerful thought to leave things on. We hope this deep dive gave you some fresh insights, maybe a head start in understanding this really fascinating, constantly shifting market. Keep exploring, keep thinking about it, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.